Hey there everybody, and you're probably wondering, why am I revisiting the park? Well, unfortunately it was lying flat, and then either because of long-term glue drying or just my stupidity, it started to warp, and so it wasn't lying flat, and that made it completely useless as a piece of terrain. So I tried tearing off the paper, assuming that it was something to do with long-term stretching the paper, and I was dumb. I rested it up against a wall, and then it just warped, and it's never been right since. So what have I done? Well, first of all, I've committed horror of horrors. I just butchered it. I took the entire edge off, which does give me a nice set of pavement for going down on a board. There's another bit of terrain for marking off a block or what have you. And okay, it doesn't mean level, but I might do all of my pavements like that, because then I'm just saving material, although it won't look quite right necessarily. But now, look, I have already just used a complete sheet of plight, and you can see all the tears where I've ripped this off. I didn't want to waste it though, because flock's actually more expensive than plight, which seems absurd to me. So I didn't want to waste it, and so I'm not going to. So I ripped off most of the backing without completely destroying the thing. I snapped it here because I'm a dumbass, and you can see tears. This will all get reflocked and everything. And I took just a straight piece of plight. I marked off an area which this would then sit into, having lopped off an inch, because originally this was a single sheet of plight with all the edges and stuff done really nice and pretty, and hours of work wasted. It takes, I don't know, I think it took about 2 or 3 hours just to do the etching on this, sand off the corners. And then I've stuck this back down to it, so it's already stuck. And I sort of stuck it down piecemeal, so I stuck down one end and I saw how it started to warp and through a tiz was, and then I carefully stuck other bits down in order to remesh it, and it has got a slight lift to it. It's ever so slight. I mean, this isn't actually a flat surface, unfortunately. But if I get this down flat, it's like you can see there's an ever so slight lift. But I think that's okay, because it's like less than a millimetre. So now I'm at the point where next job is to redo it. Also, I quite like that you step up into the park from here. There's a little step. This is actually slightly raised, so if you're one side of the park looking at the other side of the park, I think it might be pretty much waist height. So hang on a second, I'll just grab a couple of minis and I'll show you. Okay, so here you have it. This is the profile of the sort of elevation on it. I'm just trying to get the camera down so you can clearly see. Right in the background there I have it's Kempetai. He's about the same height as an intruder. The gun's elevated, but you can just see that, like, if I'm down right low, it's almost up to his waist height. So it means that I know that based on the height of this, I mean, maybe not partial cover, but as soon as you put anything else on top of this, that will be providing partial cover, even if it's like a very low wall or something. I might even build some walls so it's sort of it can be done as a walled off area. I'm going to build modular walls at some point though, I think. So yeah, there you go. I've just got to crack on with painting this now. As you can see as well, I did not undercoat this with the proper undercoat. I used acrylic paint straight onto it, and it cracks. This is terribly frustrating, and I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to spray paint it and then repaint it, which involves the great fun of masking. You can see it's just where there's been flecks, and even in the middle you see it's just been flaking away from the plight. So moral of the story is, don't use acrylic paint directly onto plight. It doesn't sit very well. I'd be interested. I'm going to look at what kind of industrial inks are used for the kind of printers that would actually print directly onto this stuff, because this is used for making sort of high fidelity signage for companies, so it's freestanding sort of rigid high fidelity signage. So I'm going to look into that and see if I can source maybe just some kind of grey, light grey, blue grey kind of colour that I can then use for the, maybe even just the purpose of the streets. I've been quite happy with how the buildings have been coming out. Check out them and look for painting stuff. Like each building type has got its own playlist. Look in the playlists and find stuff which is listed as buildings, and you can see what I mean. But spray paint seems to be okay. If you sand it or anything, it does just like take off entire layers and it all comes away. So it's like a very good surface. Everything sits on the surface and everything comes off of the surface rather too easily there. And even down to, this is where I've cut with a Stanley blade, and you can see that it's caused flaking along the edges where the Stanley blade has run through the paint, which is, to be quite, I didn't expect that. I thought it would have enough sticking capability, I don't know what the word is. I thought the emulsifying agent would stick well enough to the surface that that wouldn't be a problem, but actually I was wrong. It's a problem. However, it does give you some nice looks of wear and tear, as long as you want white showing through, which of course you probably don't. So yeah, I'll crack on with this and I'll start building masks, and I might even just do it as a hold a bit of paper over it. So if I hold a bit of paper up to the edge and then just spray, simple is often best. But yeah, once I have masked / decided on the mask, I'll show you my solution to the problem. So I'll catch you in a moment. So just before actually painting, and I decided I'm going to paint with enamel. I'm hoping that the enamel will have enough stretch in it so that with a bit of warping, as in a bit of flex in the material, it won't actually cause the enamel to crack, but I don't actually know, not certain about that. But I think it's my best bet. So I'm going to enamel this black and then I'm going to re-grey it all up. And then we will actually have our parkland, and after I've done that I just need to do the grey and the flop. So I shall catch thee momentarily. So here we have it, undercoat done, flocking touched in, all dry, ready to go. I've used the enamel. I've given it a bit of a ripple, like to see if the enamel would crack mega easily. And it hasn't cracked, so that's a good sign, I think. Always test these things, because as you saw before, the paint was cracking, and if your paint's cracking you need to find a way around it. My other way around it was going to be to put a layer of PVA on top and use that as like a flexible surface, so that that would deal with the flex from the plight and act as a base layer so that it wouldn't be a problem. But I think this is okay. It's made some cracky noises, but I'd rather it made some cracky noises and didn't actually chip off, and it seems to be doing what I want it to do. So there you go. Next mission is to re-grey it. I think this time we might do it a bit lighter, but we shall see, won't we? I don't want to use my Vallejo paint, so I was thinking of using some really old Space Wolf Grey that I've got sculling about. And as you may have noticed, I keep on using for stuff where I don't really care. So I'll get that done and I will show you the end result momentarily. Here then is the finished parkland. I've just done I did a couple of things. I had a leftover Space Wolf Grey, which I mixed a load of black with, and it's just cheap ass black as well. And it was a very old pot, it was half dead anyway, it was on the way out, so you know, reinvigorate, bring it back to life. I gave him a dark grey base, and then used another pot of Space Wolf Grey, because I just have tons of very old Space Wolf Grey sculling about, and I don't even know why or how that's happened, but it has. And I dry brushed the whole thing with that, hence scuffy, lazy looking, irregular highlights. And then I did an ink wash using black and purple ink mixed at about 15-20 parts water to I don't know, about 8 drops black ink, 5 drops violet ink from the Vallejo range of gaming. And this is how it's ended up. So I hope that you are enamoured with how this looks and that the whole thing works out well. I've touched up all the flocking so none of the cracks are really visible, and we're back to having a proper piece of parkland. So the only thing to make the park look proper, and I'll do that and I'll show it as like a brief showcase of parkland. I'll dress it up in a few different ways and just show it off once I've done the extra bits of flocking and made the trees match up. So I hope it's been some use to you, and see that even under the worst circumstances where things are warped and they don't seem to be working, you can always recover it. You just got to make it right and make good and not beat yourself up too hard over when things go wrong. So cheers everybody, have a good one, take care and enjoy your modelling. Bye bye.